Good day, fellow educators. My name is Jenna Grace A. Lamis, and I am tasked to present about progressivism. For us to formally begin our discussion about progressivism, here are the overview of ideas. We are going to talk about the proponent, who is John Dewey. Second, we have the educational implications of progressivism, pedagogy, assessment, and best practices. Of course, we are going to talk about the different educational theories and relevant research to the school of thought. And lastly, the different educational issues related to progressivism. He was a co-founder of the philosophical movement known as Pragmatism, a pioneer in functional psychology and an innovative theorist of democracy, and a leader of progressive movement in education in the United States. That is why he is considered the father figure of the progressive era American education. He made revolutionary change, the ideas to the recitation system going to the progressive system. Dewey argued that curriculum should be relevant to students' lives. He saw learning by doing and development of practical life skills as crucial to children's education. His work had a major impact on the education system of the 20th century. He believed that education should be based on students' needs and education should be participatory. This is a famous quote popularized by John Dewey. Education is a social process. Education is growth. Education is not a preparation for life. Education is life itself. As educators, we enjoy the social aspect of creating and implementing learning experiences for students. We urge them to be discoverers, to be our learners, to set aside his or her anxieties about learning. We also encourage them to reveal an opportunity for growth. For this is, in fact, life itself. Dewey was troubled by how education took place in the late 19th century. Children sat obediently at row of desks, passively listening to facts and information imparted by their teachers. He arrived at a belief that children's own individual interests and instincts should drive the learning process. Therefore, he founded the laboratory school at the University of Chicago in 1896, which became very influential in American education. In a progressivist classroom, there is inquiry. Students are encouraged to ask questions about their own understanding of what they are learning from others. They also do problem solving, where students are taught how to solve problems through trial and error with guidance from an instructor or peer tutor when needed. There is also critical thinking. The manifestation of critical thinking is when students are taught to think critically by analyzing information for accuracy, making inferences based on evidence, and drawing conclusions based on logic rather than intuition or personal opinion alone. Of course, the most exciting part is creativity, when students learn how to be creative thinkers who can come up with solutions outside traditional methods. Because it's a child-centered curriculum, both teachers and students have different roles. Teachers are the facilitators. They are there to guide and facilitate the learning process, They make sure that students are on task, have the supplies needed to their work, and take turns speaking when class discussion is taking place. The role of the teacher is to guide their students throughout the lessons, and of course, they are there to keep in order. Learners have different roles also. Students interact with one another to develop their social qualities. Students solve problems in the classroom similar to those they will encounter in their everyday lives. Their primary role is to learn and improve themselves. They must give their best and ask questions to better understand how and why things work. Pragmatism and progressivism are somewhat relevant. It is because the co-founder of pragmatism was also John Dewey. Dewey believed that real problems faced or experienced by students themselves should be emphasized rather than theoretically problems from textbooks. Pragmatism is a philosophical movement emerged in the 1870s that highlighted the importance of practicality and experience over principles of doctrine. The overarching goal in pragmatic philosophy is connecting knowledge and experience. It is less concerned with the logical order of subjects or lessons than with subjects' psychological needs. As waves of immigrants arrived in America between 1870 and 1910, some progressive educators grew concerned about factory-like approach used in schools to assimilate these diverse children. It was in the 1890s when Dewey popularized progressivism, a philosophical tradition that highlighted human development or the improvement of human conditions relied very much on scientific, technological, social, and economical development. One relevant research that we can say related to progressivism is the K-12 basic education. The primary aim of K-12 basic education is to provide sufficient time for mastery of concepts and skills, develop lifelong learners, and prepare graduates for tertiary education, middle-level skills development, employment, entrepreneurship, and to acquire 21st century skills. Education for children in the early years lays the foundation for lifelong learning. That's why K-12 also talks about the holistic development, where students acquire in-depth knowledge, skills, values, and attitude through continuity and consistency across levels and subjects. Administrators often question whether they should implement traditional versus progressive education in their schools. To provide all students with direct information and facts, teachers have implemented what is now known as the traditional method of teaching. In this educational model, educators are front and center. As gatekeepers of knowledge, they choose what to teach and how to teach it. They pass information to students that will help prepare them for life beyond school. In a teacher-centered learning, all the knowledge and the experience are given by the teacher, going to the class of students. In a traditional education, schools are less concerned about students themselves and what they get out of their lessons. Rather, they focus on shaping students into moral and educated individuals who can contribute to the working world when they become adults. Beginning in the 1880s, theorists such as John Dewey argued for a different approach to teaching, introducing the progressive education, One of the most important distinctions in traditional versus progressive education is that the latter places the student at the center of the educational model. Dewey drew upon the ideas of the philosophers John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau when developing his theories that students learn better with hands-on experience learning. Progressive education focuses less on how a teacher prepares students for jobs and more what students are passionate about and what critical thinking skills they can develop. Proponents of progressive education believe that under this model, students are more likely to develop a love of education and become lifelong learners. Students use critical thinking skills outside the classroom as they evaluate and re-evaluate their perspectives on real-world topics and issues. The challenge comes now for the teachers. It is to provide everything what the students need with different interests and abilities. But flexible as we are going to provide and do anything for our students.